Okay, and now the time has come to listen to Midsummer. We have Sven Lindström with us, who's the CEO of the company, and he will present the group and your products. So please, go ahead, and we'll end up with a bit of a Q&A session.
Thank you. So, my name is Sven Lindström. I'm one of the founders and also the CEO of Midsummer. So at Midsummer, we try to solve the world energy problem with solar cells, or PV, photovoltaics. And we've been around for 15 years, and we have some really exciting products I will show you a little bit more about. The core of our business is to make the process and the equipment that produce the solar cells. And we will now focus even more on producing the solar cells and the panels ourselves. And we believe that in order to make PV spread all over the world, we need to produce the energy where it is consumed. That's the most efficient way. PV started off with small installations in remote locations like lighthouses and satellites in space. And the next generation was very large-scale solar parks. And that was great for the business to ramp up and get the economy of scale. And we believe the third generation is to mount solar panels on every single home. And in order to do that, we need to transform the concept of a solar panel. So if you look at this picture, it's actually full of solar panels on the house and also on the garage. But it's hard to see in these distant pictures. But I'll tell you a little bit more about our products in a minute. So one product which we are extremely proud of is the Midsummer Wave. So we make thin film solar cells on a stainless steel substrate. That means we can make the solar panels without glass and without aluminum frame. So our solar panels are extremely thin, only 2 millimeters thick. And they are really lightweight compared to the traditional solar panels. And the exciting thing about this Midsummer Wave is that we have shaped the solar panel to fit the form of a roof tile. So as you can see in this picture, it fit very nicely onto the most common roof tile on the Swedish market. And with this, you can cover your entirely roof with solar panels, and it will generate around 110 watts per square meter. So basically, any modern house will be a zero energy house or even a positive energy house. So you will basically be able to generate all the electricity that you need for heating and for all your appliances inside the house. Another product we have is the Midsummer Slim. So in this case, we have integrated the solar panel into a standard standing seam roof plate. So when we deliver the roof from our factory and install it on the customer's home, he automatically gets a solar installation. So traditionally, these kind of standing seam roofs, they cost around between 80 and 120 euro per square meter if you have a traditional craftsman installing it. And you can install a roof, a standing seam roof with our solar panels for the same price. And then you basically get all the solar panels for free. And also here we have, we can cover the entire roof. We generate about 110 watts per square meter. And also here, the owner can benefit from basically a zero energy house. And finally, we have a product called Midsummer Bold. So these are panels that have the traditional size of 1 by 1.6 meters, basically the same as silicon solar panels. But in this case, instead of putting the panels onto a tin roof or roof tiles, we put it directly on the roof or on the waterproofing membrane. And then these panels act as the tile or the metal roof itself. And we have made our own system to cover the junction boxes and everything. So, and it has basically the same performance as all our other panels. And one additional benefit with all our products is that they generate very little carbon dioxide emission during manufacturing. As we make thin film solar cells, our solar cells are actually only 2 micrometer thin. So we consume very little energy when producing these kind of panels. And since we don't use any glass or aluminum frame, they only generate around 1/10 of the carbon dioxide emission compared to traditional silicon solar panels. And this we think will be an increased important feature of the solar panels. This product, Midsummer Bold, is also extremely well suited for large area or for flat large area roofs. And especially like in these pictures from California, where the roof can accept only a limited amount of load. So normally in Sweden, the houses are built to sustain 2 or 3 meters of snow. But in most sunny countries, the roofs are not built that sturdy. And in those cases, they might have a problem when they try to install silicon panels, and they can only cover a small part of the roof with solar panels. So that problem is solved with our this product, Midsummer Bold, where the weight is only a fraction of that of silicon solar panels. And then, of course, we continue our development of new products all the time. And earlier this summer, we developed a product that we called Midsummer Magnum, which is a 500-watt solar panel. So this is one of the most powerful solar panels in the world. And it's meant for these kind of large flat roofs on top of factories and warehouses, etc. Another product development that is difficult to see, but I hope you can understand from this picture, is that we have replaced the traditional wiring and soldering with the so-called bus bars over the cell with a fine mesh of wires. We call it power mesh technology. So with this, you can it's even more discreet than our traditional our standard solar panels, and you don't see these kind of lines on top of the panels, and it looks even more beautiful. So our goal is really to own this kind of market for lightweight, flexible products. And we can do this because traditional silicon panel manufacturers, they are very much focused on their standard product. And their standard product is 1 by 1.6 meter glass module with aluminum frame. And that fits perfect for solar parks. But for the roofing market, which is a little bit different in every single country, we can adapt our product much more easily. And today they consider this market as a niche market and not large enough for them to enter. But this is our main market, and we believe that this will be the main niche in the future. So we're basically switching the niche, and all the rooftops in the world has a much larger potential than large solar parks in remote areas. Because when you're building solar parks in remote areas, you also have to adapt the grid structure and the infrastructure to transport all that electricity to where people consume it. Whereas we install the solar power on top of where it's used. So this is really a huge advantage for us. And we already have a head start to this market, and I'll show you a little bit more why we are ahead of everyone else. So basically, we've been doing this for 15 years, and we didn't start from scratch. We started from manufacturing equipment for CDs and DVDs, and we evolved that technology into manufacturing of thin film solar cells. So actually, our first product was the Duo machine. So this is really how we cracked the code into mass manufacturing of these lightweight solar panels. And this has been our main product for the last 10 years, and we have sold a number of these systems all over the world. For these systems, we charge around $5 million, and we have a gross margin of 60 to 70%. So this has been a very good cash generator for us to further develop the technology. And these machines are distributed all over the world, and they are producing solar cells 24/7 at a very high efficiency. But not only the equipment, but we also have developed all the material going into this equipment, and also all the process parameters in terms of temperature, sputter pressure, what kind of process gases to use, and what kind of purity of the materials, etc. So this whole value chain is owned by Midsummer. And what we're doing now is that we're using this as a platform when we try to expand into new markets. And if you look at the financial crisis in 2008, what happened then is that the Chinese government, they tried to support these new technologies of manufacturing in PV and wind power, etc. And that's actually the decision that led us to export these machines to China. And we think what's happening now in the world with the virus, even though it has created some problems for us, both in terms of the trade war between China and US, and also in terms of travel restrictions between Asia and the rest of the world. But we think that the outcome of this will be a place where the governments want to focus much more on local production, and they want to have local production. So that's why we have launched a process of starting our own company in Italy, and we're preparing to start a factory in Italy with 50 megawatts capacity. And we are in discussion with governments in local regions and also in Rome, of course, to help us expand with this production. And the market for building integrated photovoltaics or building integrated solar panels, it's growing much faster than the market in general. And that's why we think it's really the time to do this now. And as we get up to speed and increase our volumes, we will also be able to lower the cost of production for our kind of solar panels. And I think before other companies even realize that this is a highly profitable market, we will have a head start and no one will be able to catch us. So as I mentioned, we have been selling these machines all over the world. Earlier this year, we received orders from both Russia and also China and one company in Europe. But from now on and going forward, we will mainly focus on our production and setting up production of solar panels. And I often get the question if we don't compete with our equipment customers. But we actually don't, because we help them and they help us. Because when they buy a machine from us, they want to test the market. And by being able to support them with the solar panels, they can really test the market before they make this $5 or $10 million investment into their own production equipment. And at the same time, the sales we're doing now, we're getting more requests than we can handle, even on the Swedish market. So we're actually buying panels from our customers and reselling them because we don't have enough production capacity. But hopefully, when we get the factory in Italy running, we will have enough production capacity to expand. But we're doing this in line with our equipment customers. And we also think that when we get more and more products out on the market, our equipment sales will again be much easier, because when people see these products and what they can be used for, we think this will really help our equipment sales as well. So thank you. That's everything I had to say today.
Okay, thank you, Sven. So some questions. I think to start off, let's stay on this subject of selling the machines and the panels themselves. Just to get an understanding today of the group, how much is equipment sales and how much is panel sales?
Okay, so if we go back a little bit more than a year, about 1% of our sales was solar panels, and the rest was equipment, mainly around 90%, and the rest was process and services that comes together with when we sell the equipment. If we look back to the first quarter this year, 8% of our sales was solar panels. So we're steadily increasing this. It's a little bit difficult to just put out a percentage, as if we sell a machine or not, it will affect that quarterly number quite heavily. But overall, we're looking at expanding the solar panel production, and that will be a larger part of our revenue for the future.
And you mentioned, some pretty attractive margins in the equipment sales.
Yes.
What sort of margins are you having in the solar panel market?
So in the solar panel market, we look at margins of around 30%. And that's, of course, lower than the equipment business. But it's also a market that we can control ourselves. We can market these panels locally. We can set up sales offices, etc. Whereas in the equipment sales, we do whatever we can, of course, to sell the equipment, but it's such a heavy investment for any company. So to a certain point, we can no longer affect the process in terms of what kind of government subsidies they get and what kind of financing they can arrange themselves. So I think even though it's lower margins, we can expand this market to be much grower.
Yeah. And so you're ramping up production in Italy. Why specifically do you want to be in Italy? And maybe also a bit just on the 50 megawatts of capacity.
Yes.
That the potential there.
Yes.
How does that compare to your capacity today, and what would that mean in terms of being able to increase sales going forward?
Yes. So Italy is one of the most interesting markets in Europe, together with basically most of the southern European countries, because they have a lot of sunshine, they have high electricity prices, and they really today depend quite a lot on fossil fuels. And we try to the government, of course, try to shift away from the fossil fuels. So they invest a lot in installing PV. So it's a great market to be in. It's also a possibility where we see the potential of getting help from the local government to establish our business there. And 50 megawatts, that's basically 10 times more capacity than we have today in Sweden, where our machines are running.
And would you also target Italy for sales then as well? So would that factory be targeting selling
Yes.
to Italy or all over Europe?
Well, that factory will foremost target the Italian market, because we believe in manufacturing locally and selling locally. Italians are quite proud of the products made in Italy. So and that market is so much greater than the Swedish market. So I think even a 50 megawatt factory will not be enough.
Yeah. And just in terms of competition, so you're mentioning some big differences between the traditional solar cells, but there are other companies as well who do sort of integrated solar panels and so forth. In terms of the integrated solar panel market, what's the main difference here versus competition, and who is the biggest competition, would you say?
Well, I wouldn't say we really have that much competition when it comes to integrated PV, because most other companies are either using traditional silicon panels and try to integrate them, or they use kind of heavy glass panels which are flat and still have this weight disadvantage compared to our solar panels. And when it comes to thin film solar cells, we are really on top when it comes to efficiency and also manufacturability, because no one else has really been able to crack the code of how to mass manufacture these kind of solar cells that we have. So I think that's really our biggest advantage.
And in terms of protecting this technology, do you have some sort of protection for someone copying this technology, or how do you work with protecting your
I actually
IP?
have a slide on that. I don't know if that's shown, but I can show a little bit. So basically, we own the design of the machine. We own our own process. We own our software in the machine. We know exactly what materials to buy. That's proprietary to Midsummer, and all of this taken together, it's of course a very strong IP. We do have patents approved in Sweden, US, and China, but most of all, we have tried to keep these all this knowledge in-house. And just so you understand the complexity of this production process, one Duo machine consists of over 25,000 parts, and that's designed by us. And then, of course, bolts and washers, etc. So it's quite a complex product, and it's not that easy to copy, as we have dedicated suppliers and a network of suppliers all over the world, from Japan, China, Taiwan, Switzerland, Sweden, US, Germany. So we say that this is like a padlock with many different keys. So
yeah, okay, I understand. I think that's a good time to round it off. That was all the questions I had. So thank you very much, Sven, for coming today and presenting Midsummer.
Thank you. Thank you.